Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down one of the foundational building blocks of the cloud, Amazon S3 buckets. Seriously, if you've ever wondered where all the data on the internet actually lives, or if you're a developer who just needs a reliable place to stash your files, well, you are in exactly the right place.
So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll start with the absolute basics. What is an S3 bucket anyway? Then, we're going to get our hands dirty and talk about creating your very first one. From there, we'll dive into all the cool configurations, look at some smart ways to design your storage for real-world apps, and then wrap it all up with how to manage everything. Let's do this.
Okay, first things first, what are we really talking about when we say S3? Before we can build anything, we have to speak the language. So let's break down the two most important ideas. Trust me, it's way simpler than it sounds.
At its heart, a bucket is just a container. It's basically a folder for your data in the cloud. But, and this is the most important part, its name has to be globally unique. I don't mean unique in your account. I mean unique across every single AWS account on the entire planet. It's like trying to get a username on a service that 1 billion people use. If someone's taken it, it's gone.
So what goes in the bucket? That's where objects come in. Now, an object isn't just the file itself, your photo, your log file, your video. It also includes metadata, which is just data about your data, and that metadata is super powerful.
All right, so we know what buckets and objects are. Now for the fun part, making one. But before you jump in, you have to know the rules of the road. There are a few key things to get right.
And here it is again, because it's that important. This is the #1 thing that trips people up. When you name a bucket something like My App, you're not just claiming it for yourself. You're claiming it against every other developer in the world. If someone else has that name, you can't have it, period. That's why you often see these really long, specific bucket names out there.
So you've got to play by these rules, kind of like naming a website. Keep it between 3 and 63 characters and stick to lowercase letters, numbers, and hyphens. Here's a pro tip. Try to avoid periods if you think you might ever use S3's super fast transfer acceleration feature. And of course, never ever put anything sensitive in the name, because it's part of the bucket's public-facing address.
And this shows you exactly what works and what doesn't. Look at the left side. Those are perfect. Simple, lowercase, descriptive. Now look at the right. Those are all the common mistakes. Uppercase letters, weird symbols like underscores. We're trying to format it like an IP address. Just stick to the style on the left and you'll save yourself a ton of grief. You know, creating a bucket is really just the beginning. The real magic, the real power, comes from how you configure it. I like to think of these next features as superpowers you can just switch on to make your data safer, cheaper to store, and way more resilient. This gives you a fantastic bird's eye view of the most common settings. Now, you're not going to use all of these for every single bucket, but just knowing they're there is a game changer. For instance, versioning is like an undo button for your data. Lifecycle rules can save you an absolute fortune in the long run. And tagging? That's your key to understanding exactly where your money is going.
Now, this is maybe the most important thing to understand about S3 security. I'm going to say it again. Everything is private by default. Nothing in your bucket is available to the public unless you go out of your way to make it public. It's a fundamental safety net that's there to protect you.
Let's zoom in on versioning for a second. Honestly, you should probably turn this on for any bucket that holds important data. When versioning is on, if you delete a file, it doesn't actually get destroyed. S3 just puts a little flag on it called a delete marker, and you can restore the old version instantly. It is an absolute lifesaver.
And for an even higher level of protection, maybe for legal documents or compliance data, you have object lock. This enforces something called a warm model. That's write once, read many. Once you lock a file, it is immutable. It cannot be changed or deleted by anyone, not even you, until that lock expires. It's serious stuff.
And to keep your costs from spiraling out of control, lifecycle rules are your best friend. This is pure automation for your data. You can set up simple rules like, hey, after 30 days, move this data to a much cheaper storage class, or after 10 years, just delete it for good. It's a fantastic set it and forget it feature.
Okay, so we've got the theory down, we know how to make a bucket, we know how to turn on all these cool features, but how should you actually organize your data in the real world? Let's look at the 2 most popular design patterns.
So, this really comes down to 2 main approaches. On one hand, you have the multi-tenant pattern. Think of it as one giant bucket where you organize everything with prefixes, which just look like folders. It's simple, it's easy to start. On the other hand, you can create a separate bucket for each user, or each team. This gives you way more granular control and security, but you might end up managing thousands of buckets. The right choice really just depends on what your app needs to do.
All right, finally, let's talk about the day-to-day work. How do you actually get to your data? And just as important, how do you properly get rid of a bucket when you're done with it?
You've got a bunch of ways to interact with S3, so you can pick the right tool for the job. The web console is great for just clicking around and doing things manually. The command line interface, or CLI, is perfect for scripting and automation. And if you want to build S3 right into your code, you've got the SDKs and the raw REST API.
Now listen up, because this is important. When you want to delete a bucket, it's a very deliberate process. You must empty it out completely before you can delete the bucket itself. And if you had versioning turned on, that means deleting every single version and every single delete marker. This isn't just a hassle, it's a critical safety feature to stop you from accidentally deleting terabytes of important data with one wrong click.
And there you have it, a whirlwind tour of Amazon S3 buckets. We've gone from the core concepts and naming rules all the way to advanced features and management strategies. You now have a really solid foundation for using one of the most powerful storage systems in the world. This tech powers everything from small websites to massive data lakes, which really leaves us with just one final question to think about.